What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. We're finishing the final video in our off-season preview series. We're going to talk about your 2022 CDL champions, the Los Angeles Thieves. Let's break down their amazing season, their crazy finish, and where they should go here in the offseason if they want to go ahead and defend their title. Let's talk about it. So I think if we want to talk about the Thieves, we got to talk about 2021 as well. Pretty much skirting the line between a top 10, top 8 team, made about 59 roster changes last year. Keep in mind, this is coming off the year where they bought the spot from OGLA, aka Mortals. There were memes all year about JCAB making 59 rosters, whatever. I mean, they basically didn't have stability last year. They had about a stretch in the middle of the season where they were playing some decent COD, especially on Checkmate. But the roster they finished into the season, which was Kenny, Slasher, John, and Draza, wasn't playing particularly good. And their performance at Cold War Champs was average as best, top 8. They were out of there pretty quick. So a lot to build on going in the season of Vanguard. So what Thieves decided to do is make two major changes. They kept Kenny and Draza from their team last year. They brought in Sam Octane from Seattle. He had run the course of his 2-year contract. Sam was obviously very unhappy in Seattle. So a change of pace going back to the organization where he had won in Black Ops 4. And Envoy was definitely a surprise one coming over from the Chicago Optic. He was part of sort of the Hex Quarters, Huntsman Optic camp, but with the merger between Dallas and Chicago, Envoy, like a couple other players, was an odd man out, and so Thieves ended up being his destination. So we get to Major 1 qualifiers, and Thieves start off the season pretty solid. 4-1 start, only lost to Atlanta FaZe. And at this point, I mean, I think the first couple of splits here, I think the way to kind of color this team is they were definitely like a solid respawn team. But where they were falling short in some of these series was their ability to close, especially in S&D, and especially their ability to close when they got first blood. In 4v3, 3v4s, situationals, really, this team was struggling to make the right read, and that's where they were coming up short in some of these series. So, okay, Thieves go 4-1. They get the 3rd seed overall going into the event at Major 1 ESA. And they start off with a series against Toronto, and like I said, you know, S&D is a real backbreaker here because Thieves did take the respawns, aka the hard points, in the series because Toronto did not win a single hard point at this event. Toronto grabbed the control, the first S&D and the second S&D, they 2-3-5'd it. And a tough loss for Thieves in a series where, again, if they had won one of these S&Ds, it would be completely different. So they get bounced to losers bracket where they take care of business against a struggling New York team. And they keep it going with a nice win over the Minnesota Rocker, who weren't amazing, but not terrible. Definitely a little bit of a step up from New York. But once again, they run into the Atlanta FaZe for the second time. They do make it go to 5. Again, Thieves, solid team all season. I want to, like, this narrative that they only peaked at the end of the season, like, they were solid at LAN all year, guys. But where they struggled again, they get to game 5. Atlanta FaZe, solid S&D team. Really super confident against Thieves on any S&D map, and Thieves don't get it done. And yes, they get top 6 at this event, which is not too bad. But you had an opportunity in both of these series of this event where if your S&D was better, you probably get a better shot. So we get to the Major 2 qualifier cycle. This is the event in Minnesota. And Thieves are really kind of struggling at this point. Post Major 1, the respawn starts to fall off as well. They start kind of doing roster sort of role swaps with the team, trying to figure out the best comp. And they don't win a single series and actually end up qualifying 12th overall for the event in Minnesota. And at this point, I think a lot of the, like, they need to make a roster change kind of conversation starts. I was definitely a victim of this. It felt like they had a good Major 1, and then the spark on this team just felt like it had gone. There wasn't really confidence. They had tough losses against Optic in Minnesota and LIG, but they didn't really play well against London or Seattle. So going into Major, even though they had a pretty good standing for champs, they needed to get a decent result at this event. So starting off their first match at Major 2 in Minnesota, they play New York once again. A banger game 5 series, was very entertaining. And this time Thieves get on the better end of these game 5s, taking S&D and our top 8 and advance to the next round, where unfortunately they need to play an Optic Texas team that had a surprise loss against Seattle. And this game 5 doesn't swing their way. I don't think Optic Texas played amazing in this series. I think Thieves definitely came out and played well, but once again, situational S&D play did not go in their favor in both S&Ds, and they got bounced in 5. Top 6, top 8, again. I think the top 6 more impressive, the top 8, okay, but you have to consider the context before for Thieves. I think they were definitely looking for better. It was good damage limitation for how bad you played online, but only coming away with 10 points to split was not ideal. So Pro-Am Classics, this is your mid-season event, a couple of weeks come off, chance for Thieves to regroup. They start moving forward, some of these roster changes, start putting Ken more on a sub role to kind of see how that goes. They get drawn in Group C, once again playing New York for like the 99th time, London Royal Ravens and Team War. And Thieves play pretty good. They do lose to New York in a 3-0 fashion, but they take care of business against War and London and advance to the knockout stage of this event. From there, they play pretty good, actually. Their best showing of the season so far. They take care of business against a Boston team. That's a solid mid-pack team, but if you're a team like Thieves and you've got championship aspirations, you should be beating them. And then finally, Thieves get their revenge against Optic Texas finally this season, get it done in 4 maps, don't even need a game 5er, in which they advance to the finals. They play New York once again for like the 5th time now, I think, this season. And New York too strong, especially in respawns. They look like the best hardpoint team at this event. Played solid some of the other game modes as well. And New York take away the Pro-Am championship. And for Thieves, the top 2 after the rockiness of Major 2 is something to build on going to the back end of the season. So we get to the Major 3 cycle, and I want to clarify that there's sort of one change that Thieves make at the tail end of the online portion here. It seems like it's a little unclear to me with the reporting about when he actually started, but they've started to bring in Shane as an assistant coach for LA Thieves. I think I was one of those people, especially sort of after Major 2 and around Pro-Am, I was like, I really like this Thieves team, roster change or not, but it feels like it's sort of Cap versus the world, and he could definitely use some more resources, someone that really help, I think, probably focus on their search game, which was definitely a weak point. So they bring Shane in from the London Royal Ravens organization. Shane's obviously a former player, well liked by most people in the scene, super charismatic, has the kind of build you want for a coach. And I think this is really where Thieves start to really turn around their season. They have sort of a mixed 2 and 3 online portion of the Major 3 qualifiers, but they qualify for the winners bracket. So no harm, no foul. Really nice victories over Boston and London, but in a weird fashion, they either 3-0'd or got 3-0'd. They got 3-0'd against Minnesota, Optic Texas, and Seattle. So a bit of a mixed bag, but again, you qualify for winners. You would have probably liked another 10 or 20 points, but it is what it is. And we pull up to the event in Toronto, and overall, Thieves actually do a very good job making it to Sunday at this tournament. They take care of business. At the start of the tournament against the Minnesota team, it was a little sketchy. I think Minnesota actually played pretty well in this series. They were really starting to kick up as a team and sort of try and qualify for champs. And Thieves played particularly good in this series to advance to winner semis. Where unfortunately they ran up against Atlanta FaZe, and this is probably Thieves' worst loss on the second half of the season, I would say. This was really an uncompetitive series, and Atlanta FaZe really took care of business against them. And so Thieves had to do a little bit of regrouping after that shellacking, and they followed it up with a very nice victory over the Optic Texas boys. Impressive performance at S&D in control. I really liked what Thieves did in this series, and I think it was a huge momentum builder for them going into the final day of the tournament. And unfortunately for Thieves, you know, they made the top 4, but they had to face off against Toronto, who I think was playing pretty hot after having to make a full losers run after losing to Atlanta FaZe in the first day of the tournament. And the home crowd was too much for Thieves, and I thought they played solid in the series again, but I think Toronto was kind of rolling, especially in the S&Ds with the home crowd, just a momentum. And Thieves were competitive, but not enough. It goes 4 games. And for Thieves, top 4 at Major 3 is something definitely to build on. I think that's a solid result. I don't know if they would have beaten FaZe or Seattle again at this tournament, but top 4 seemed like a solid placing for them, kind of looking back at it. We get to the Major 4 cycle. Thieves have still got some work to do to qualify for champs, but their prospects are looking up at this point. And they sort of are in that pack of the 3-2, 2-3 squad, and they get the 4th seed overall going to the event in New York. Tough Game 5 losses to FaZe and to Florida, but they do take nice victories against Boston, a Game 5 against a New York team that was playing very well, and a 3-0 against Paris, one of the rare 3-0s versus Paris, who was actually playing pretty good in the Major 4 cycle. Couldn't get wins, but they were taking people to 5. So for Thieves, you get a little bit of ground on some of your compatriots that are sitting on the cut line, but you get the 4th seed and you will start in winners at the event. And it's a great event for Thieves. They take home the W. Let's talk about it. They opened the tournament with a signature win against Atlanta FaZe, and one of many they got here at the end of the season. Really outclassed them the first couple of maps, I felt like, and then pressed that advantage to go ahead and get it done without a Game 5. From there, they had a nice 3-0 victory against a Toronto team that was pretty Jekyll and Hyde, but you got to take care of business and you advance to the winners finals, in which Thieves faced against home team New York. Now going into this match, New York needed to win. Well, they had to win one of their last couple of matches. They had to win here or win and losers finals to make it to champs. And I think there was too much momentum in the room once again for Thieves that they couldn't really push against, and New York take it and advance to the grand finals. Thieves then have a rematch against Atlanta FaZe, coming off a nice victory from Optic Texas. And once again, Thieves look just 2 classes above in this series. That was really the theme of their matchups here at the end of the season, and Thieves advanced to the grand finals against New York. And this is a banger grand finals, honestly. It went pretty far. I think Thieves got a really unlucky on sort of the middle of the series on what happened on the Bocage S&D. I don't know if they would have won the round in which they got the glitch, but you know, they start off hot. You know, it was sort of a back and forth series between these teams. They were trading momentum early, but Thieves started to pull away sort of in the middle of the series and were able to take that last map and not let it go to a 9th map in S&D. And for Thieves, major progression here at the end of the season, 2nd, 4th, and now a 1st, and you were probably going in the champs at this point, all things considered, as the favorite for the final event of the season. And they really looked like the #1 team at this event from the first series to the last. They had a really grueling series against Boston on day 1, but I would say that everybody kind of had a grueling series on day 1. It's surprising looking back on it, but Boston's got like decent ability to surprise you, especially in respawns. But Thieves look really comfortable in that last map and get it done. They face off against Optic Texas and a massive 3-0 victory against a Optic Texas team that was definitely weakened mind. And I thought that was an extremely impressive victory. At this point, I was like, Thieves is probably winning this, unless Atlanta FaZe, to me, was the only other team that I think like could outclass them at levels if FaZe played it where they were. But FaZe was playing B-level COD all year, and it seemed like Thieves really just had the mastery of the meta and way better teamwork than FaZe, and that showed in their winners finals matchup, in which once again it didn't even go to a game 5. Thieves just look too good, especially in the SNDs, and they get it done and advance to winners finals. FaZe have to beat Seattle on Saturday night to go ahead and qualify for the grand finals, and then Thieves pretty much kind of dominated this one start to finish. FaZe made it a little bit interesting. Thieves went off to a huge 4-0 lead. It looks like it was going to be a clean sweep in the grand finals. FaZe won a couple of maps. I think the 7th map, which was a Tuscan SND, actually was pretty close. If FaZe had won that map, I think it would probably have gotten a little interesting in this series and maybe a little dicey for Thieves, but they clutch up especially a couple of situationals, and they are your back-to-back winners this year, and they do lift their first ever CDL Champs trophy as an organization, one they were so desperately chasing since Black Ops 4 when they came up short against United in the finals there. So I think for Thieves, I mean, record probably doesn't show how well they played at the end of the season. I think the actual game mode records probably do tell a little bit of the story. I think it's probably better to look at how they played at the end of the season. That will kind of speak towards more of my greater point, which is sort of the massive turnaround of S&D for this team. 4-8 in stage 1, 5-7 in stage 2. We don't have pro-am stats on here, unfortunately, but they were 500 stage 3, in which they got top 4. They were 9-6 in S&D in stage 4, in which they got the first place win, but 9-2 in control is also very impressive if you actually look back on it. And then really their most solid played event of the season. They look like the best hardpoint team. They look like the best S&D team. Came back a little bit to earth on control with a 3-2 record. But to me, the 6-1 S&D is impressive because it's historically like, like last year in S&D, a little bit up and down. This year in S&D in the beginning, it was really tough to watch. And I think this is credit to Cap and Shane and the players for really like kind of putting the work in to improve their system and their understanding his team and what they wanted to do in situationals, because they had no problem getting bloods. They had a lot of problem though converting the bloods and doing the right thing after that, doing right thing in post plants, setting up correctly, not making mistakes. Like they were definitely this very disciplined S&D team at the end of the year. Taking a look at stats, this doesn't really tell the story because I think for a majority of the year, and they were definitely not actually one of the higher slaying Team KD teams. I actually believe they were near the bottom of the league after the first 2 splits of this year, really struggling to get just individual kills, and I think that probably didn't help some of their respawn games. So really by the end of the season, Sam was the only person around a 1. He was actually at a 0.99. This number is not really correct because he's off by 2 kills. But I think this evenness speaks towards really the cohesion and chemistry they had and sort of how they were playing in system, and the pacing kind of made sense. And to me, this kind of gets to my point on what I think they should do in the offseason. So they re-signed the players that were on the old OGLA rosters last season in new deals, and obviously with Envoy coming over, Octane coming over, they were on new deals as well. So they've got options on everyone. And as of this moment, we're recording this video on Tuesday, and the team option deadline has passed, and they picked everybody up but Pentagram. And so my thought process of Thieves is this: you got to run him back with this roster. Obviously, you won champs. There's really nothing else to discuss. I think the only thing you do from a organizational standpoint, if you're Cap and Shane or Mud Dog, is trying to probably upgrade this bench position. When you were talking about maybe making roster changes in the community, Pentagram wasn't playing amazing in challengers, and so I would say that the sort of goal for this Thieves team, I think, is probably either if there's a sub that you like in sort of this list of players, those are some of these AM players, and you want to cop them early, I would say do it. But I would see this Thieves team is probably going to be a little bit patient, likely waiting towards the end of December to sign a sub, because you do still need a sub. As much as this team won champs and you should run it back, you never know. Someone get COVID, they can get injured, someone could be dealing and need to take some time away from the team. So I really like maybe someone like a Vickle, someone like a Brezzy, who is a multi-role player, can play sub, maybe AR. You don't really want to pick up a main AR in the sub spot. Someone that could come in the pinch and kind of play a little bit of pacey COD, because I think that's what they would want to play next year anyway, based on the way they played this year. That would be sort of my move. Again, though, I kind of think Thieves might be a little bit patient on the sub pickup, just because, look, their team won. They're going to run it back. They obviously need a sub just to fit roster rules, but they're not really in a rush, I think, to do so. That's it, guys. Let me know what you think. Thieves, obviously, I would be shocked if any of y'all think they should make a change. If you do, please make your case in the comments, because I would love to know what you think they should do in terms of changes, because I don't really see many, if any, if at all. If you like this video, smash the like button, and as always, subscribe for more content. We're going to keep pushing out more off-season video. Roster Mania is just heating up, so more to come for y'all on this channel. And as always, guys, we will see you on the next one.